The Voyages of Odysseus. Odysseus was trapped in the middle of a war over a beautiful lady called Helen. It had been 10 long years fighting the city of Troy, and he really wanted to get back to his family in Ithaca. Just then he had a eureka moment. His idea was to trick the people of Troy and get inside the city walls in a wooden horse. He hid with other soldiers inside a huge wooden horse. The Trojans foolishly brought the horse inside the city gates. At night the Greeks climbed out of the wooden horse and opened the city gates to the Greek army. Troy was defeated. At last Odysseus could return to Ithaca to see his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus. The journey begins. He set sail on the long journey home. When his ships landed, his men got into fights with the locals, and Odysseus lost 72 men. The rest of the men sailed on to the land of the Lotus Eaters. The lotus fruit had special powers. The Cyclops. They sailed once more and soon reached the island of the Cyclops. Let me show you what Cyclops looked like. Odysseus wanted to see one for himself, but unfortunately the Cyclops was very angry and trapped Odysseus and his men in his cave using a boulder. They were very scared. The Cyclops goes up to his men for his tea, and in the morning they escaped and sailed once more. The Island of Giants. The next part of the adventure happened on the island ruled by King Aeolus. The king was very kind to the men and gave them a mysterious leather bag and gave them a slight wind to get back to Ithaca. About halfway through the journey, his men foolishly opened the bag looking for treasure. They didn't find treasure. What they did find was trouble. Stormy, strong winds came from the bag that blew them back to the island. This time the giants did not give them a second chance. They threw sticks and stones towards the ships. They were all sunk except Odysseus, so he wisely decided to park outside the harbour. Circe the Enchantress. Odysseus and his crew were sent to another island called Aeolus, where they were met by Circe, the wicked sorcerer. She could turn men into pigs if she wanted to, using a spell. Hermes, the messenger of the gods, gave Odysseus a nice flower called Homoi to put in any food Circe gave him to stop her magic, and so he stayed safe. Underworld, here I come. Circe took Odysseus down to the underworld to meet Tiresias for advice. No one had ever returned from the underworld alive. Odysseus was the first to survive, and once more he set sail on his long journey to Ithaca. Danger! Sirens! The next danger was getting past the island of the Sirens. The siren is a half woman, half bird. Sirens sing beautiful songs which lure sailors onto the rocks and kill them. Odysseus took Circe's advice and put wax in the ears of his men so they would not hear the beautiful songs coming from the sirens. Odysseus wanted to hear them for himself, so he asked the men to tie him to the mast of the ship very tightly. When he heard the music, he begged his men to untie him, but the men steered away to avoid trouble. Scylla and Cardidias. The next challenge for Odysseus' ship was to sail through the narrow channel. One side was Scylla, a 6-headed monster with 12 legs. On the other was a powerful whirlpool called Cardidias. Which way would you go? Odysseus had been told by Circe to stay away from Cardidias and sail near Scylla's cave. Sadly, 6 of Odysseus' men were eaten by Scylla, and the rest of his men sailed on to the Sun God's Island. The Sun God's Island. Despite Odysseus' warning, the men ate the meat of the cattle that lived on the island. The Sun God asked Zeus, the king of the gods, to punish the men for harming the cattle, so Zeus punished everyone except Odysseus, because he did not eat any meat. He sent a thunderbolt down to the ship, and all the men were drowned except for Odysseus. Calypso. Tired, starving and sad, Odysseus was washed up on the island of the nymph Calypso. Calypso wanted to keep Odysseus for herself. Odysseus refused because he wanted to get home to see Penelope and Telemachus. Feeling sad for Odysseus, Calypso helped him to build a raft to set sail once more. Poseidon was still angry with Odysseus for blinding his son Polyphemus, Cyclops. So he ripped up Odysseus' raft, and for days Odysseus tossed and turned in the rough seas. Finally, he was washed up on the island of the Thessalians. The king of the island gave Odysseus a ship filled with gifts and wished him a safe journey. Home, sweet home. Once again he was washed up on the beach. He did not know where he was. A sea mist covered the land. As it cleared, he saw the goddess Athena. "You have done well, Odysseus," she said, "and your prize is to be home at last on the island of Ithaca." Odysseus kissed the ground for joy and went to see Penelope.